What's up, everybody? Welcome to Human Innovation Tarot. My name is Eddie with Imagine Life Development Center, and today I'm going to be talking about what's coming up this year for all of us. We have officially entered 2025, which is a universal 9-year in numerology. I will be explaining all this in just a moment, but why do you need to know this? Why is this important? How is this going to benefit you? Well, the reason that we need to know this is so that we can align to the energy of what's happening around us, right? Because it's, very pointless to try to roll a boulder uphill, right? Like, we want to go with the flow of the energy of life, essentially. It's like being on a float or one of those like lazy river things. You're just going with the flow. That's what we want. And so it's actually kind of crazy to think that we're closing out a whole 9-year cycle that will never happen ever again. So essentially a major fractal of time will close out the end of this year. So we're in the 9th year. This is the last year of this cycle. So this began all the way back in 2017. So a few things before we jump in. Again, why do we need to know this? Well, this year, the theme of this year, as I'm going to be going over in a bit more depth and detail in just a moment, has a lot to do with endings and new beginnings, right? So it's closing out one thing, clearing the decks, tying up loose ends, cutting out what no longer serves you, and really just kind of putting the period at the end of the sentence, right? It's like literally you finished, either you closed the last page of the book and you're going to go start a whole brand new book next year in 2026. So this is basically be like the last chapter of the book that you're reading, so to speak, metaphorically speaking. And it's going to close once we are finished with 2025. That's it. You finish the book. 2026 is a whole new book that's got 9 chapters, right? So I chose a card that describes this universal 9-year, okay? And I've got some other messages here to share with you that are I'm channeling right now in real time. So these weren't, I didn't write these down. They weren't prepared. Like, I didn't meditate and think about it and journal it or something, and then I'm here to share it. No, this is coming through me like in real time as I'm recording this. So I'll share those with you here in just a moment. So for many of you, this is what this card signifies is the year 2025. So this card is the representation of everything that's going to happen this year. And it's between worlds. And so when we get closer to the end of this year, which we're just starting it, so we're just at the beginning of 2025, obviously. I'm recording this on January the 10th. This is a, semi-timeless reading. I mean, it's, anytime we watch this or refer back to this video during the year of 2025, it will be relevant. But as we move closer to 2026, as the year progresses on, we're going to be moving towards this, the color side of this card, where you see the flamingos kind of in color here. And everything back behind us here is kind of like in black and white, or it's distressed. The color is faded. And that's just representation of the past. Now, I'm going to actually read, because I've feeling called to read the definition of this card from the book itself, as the author, the creator of the deck, intended it, their interpretation of this card. So I'm going to read that in just a second because it's relevant to this reading. Before I do that, I just want to mention, as part of the things that are coming through me in this moment that I'm channeling, is that many of you, life doesn't look anything like it did 9 years ago. Now, 9 years is a significant amount of time. I mean, it's almost a decade, like 1 year short of a decade, right? So, I mean, that's like the difference between your teens, your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, right? It's a significant amount of time. So, I mean, of course, yeah, obviously you could say, well, of course, Eddie, yeah, I mean, I'm potentially 9 years older than I was in 2017 when this cycle began. So, of course, things have changed, right? And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the Captain Obvious changes, like you got older and obviously life happens, shit happens in life. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about significant changes in your spiritual growth, like who you are on a conscious level, not, just going through the mundane grind of life. You get up, you go through life, you go to work the same way, you do the same thing, and it's going to be, next thing you know, it's going to be Valentine's Day, and then it's going to be Easter, and then it's going to be, pre-summer or Mother's Day, and then it's going to be Father's Day. Then we're going to be in summer and then fall. It's like, I'm not talking about just the mindless continuation of being on the hamster wheel going through life, right? Like, and then of course there's always the little things that happen, whether it's stuff at your work, whether it's birthday parties, whether you make a fun memory here with your friends, or this thing happened over there, or there was an injury, or maybe someone in the family passed away, or there was a loss. Like, I'm not talking about that kind of stuff, right? I'm not talking about the stuff that applies to everybody that's a living human being that's just going through life. I'm talking about on a spiritual journey, okay? Like things that have happened for some of you that have been like borderline, I would say, you would say of yourself, like, you can't make this shit up. Like, you feel like your life has been a literal twilight zone. Like, something happened, when you think of the last 9 years of your life, if you had to tell that story to somebody and they're like, well, so, what was this last 9 years like for you? You'd be like the effing twilight zones, only way I knew to describe it. Like, this happened and that happened. And we did have a lot of crazy stuff happen. Just even on a collective level, right? 2017, we've seen two presidencies in that time. So we've seen two presidencies in that time, but we've seen crazy stuff. Just who would have thought from 2017 to 2020, we'd be stepping into a worldwide pandemic, and then, the stuff that's happened even since then, right? So the last 9 years have certainly been significant in the history and the evolution of humanity on a global scale. But what about for you? And this is the message, because this is what's important for you. How you interpret the foreshadow effect in your life. And if you're not sure what that is, there's actually a video on my playlist where I describe what the foreshadow effect actually is. It's a type of synchronicity in your life where things are always occurring in our life all the time that we're unaware of. But the things that are happening even right now, and as you're stepping into January, and as you start to just, every day potentially, there's an occurrence, there's something happening that you're unaware of at that moment. Even though it's passing your awareness, you're there, you're present for it. But in the moment, it doesn't have any relevance or any meaning. But a month, a year, 5 years, 3 years, 10 years down the road, something is going to happen. And it's going to trigger a memory. Something's going to happen. A lot of people call this deja vu. It's very similar. Something's going to happen in the future that's going to remind you of something that's occurring right now. So in your future, way up ahead of the road in the future, something's going to happen that's going to remind you of things that are happening now. Because the things that are happening now are foreshadowing things that are going to happen in your future. It's a foreshadow effect, right? And if you can look back over your life, the entirety of your life, you'll see that this is actually true. You'll start to notice, like, oh my God, there were things in my life that were kind of like eerily synchronistically indicating that in my future, this was going to happen, or I was going to have this kind of encounter, or I was going to be drawn to this, or this thing was going to, all the evidence is there. And this is kind of like the mystery, the magic, and the clues of life, right? It's almost kind of like maybe there's a higher power or something that's outside of this simulation that we call life, that has strategically placed these little Easter eggs. And it's almost like we're just kind of going along a path thinking that, free will is all there is. It's all random. We just live in a random universe. We live on a random planet. We're just randomly doing things. And it's just coincidental that things happen. Or maybe it's not so coincidental. Maybe there are things that were dropped along the path and we walked right into those things because they were predestined, right? And so that's the beauty of the human consciousness, is we get to decide what to make of these fated or destined type of foreshadows. So for those of you who understand what I'm saying, and you can relate to this, and you can look back in your life and you can see the evidence of these foreshadows, this is going to be very relevant for you in 2025, because, and I've mentioned this a lot. I don't know how many times, but I've mentioned it a lot lately on my channel, and it's going to be I'll probably mention it even more, because again, I'm here to answer the call. I'm here to make myself available as the messenger of the divine, because that's what I signed up for. And so, in my own personal life in the last 9 years, I wasn't aware of that. All the way starting way back at the very beginning of the 1 year cycle, which would have been in 2017. Starting in 2017, and I was so different than who I am now. Completely crazy different. And then in the evolution of these last 9 years, just up to this last year specifically, 2024, was when essentially my whole life made sense. And I'm 43. My birthday is in September, so I'll turn 44 this year. So it took, 43 years basically to figure out what my mission, my purpose in life was. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And why am I so weird? And why do I have these weird spiritual gifts and all that? Nothing really made sense in my life until it made sense. But I had to get curious. I had to go on this spiritual journey, and I had to arrive and come to those conclusions as a result of staying on the journey. And so for some of you, this year will be about, for you, what I call answering the call. And as you move towards, your future here, as you progress down the road of 2025, you're going to find your call in life. This will be the year that it all came together for you. Just like for me, it was last year. Last year, all the puzzle pieces finally clicked into place, and I finally got it. Well, for many of you, it's going to be this year. This is going to be the year that all the trauma, all the pain, all the suffering, all the losses, all the toxic relationships, all the family stuff, whatever's happened to you, the entirety of your entire past life, everything that led up to this moment of your spiritual development and your spiritual journey. And it doesn't matter how you arrive, right? It's like how you're starting. If this is the starting line of just 2025, right? I'm not talking about the whole last 9 years, just 2025. If this back here is the starting line of 2025, and this is the finish line, it doesn't matter how you're stepping onto the line to start this race, the race of this year, metaphorically speaking, because however you showed up and in whatever condition you're showing up in is the condition you need to be in, right? The divine got you here, and that's all that's important. And the condition that you're in, whether you're tired, you're worn down, you're beat down, you're going through a dark night of the soul, whether you're on the highest of the highs or on the mountaintop, you're living your dreams, man, I'm living my best life. however you're starting 2025 is exactly how you need to start. There's a reason for everything, right? And it's part of the foreshadow. And if you want to know why, maybe you're showing up, or why your year starting out with you in whatever condition or whatever state that you're in, look back into over the last 9 years, if not the entirety of your entire life, and look for those foreshadows. They're there. Those clues are there. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to be super easy to find, because this takes a degree of self-reflection and patience and intentionality. Like, you have to literally sit down and really put some thought into it. You can't be distracted. You can't just be, okay, well, yeah, there was maybe it was something that happened 5 years ago, or, okay, yeah, there was that one major obvious thing that happened. Like, you went through a divorce, or you went through a breakup, or, you had a really bad car accident or whatever. I'm not talking about just the major things, because our life there's so much happening all the time. There's just the amount of synchronicities alone, if I had to add them all up of 2024, I've got a lot of the pictures, like the things that I could actually capture and make, tangible evidence for. Some of it you can't. Some synchronicities you can't capture, right? It's just stuff that you see and only makes sense to you, or things that you hear, right? It's not something that you can just take a picture of. But if I had to compile all of the synchronicities of everything in 2024, it'd be insane. It'd be pages long, multiple pages long of all the stuff. So as you begin to expand your awareness, your conscious awareness, or your spiritual awareness, because that's what awareness is. We are conscience. We are just a conscience, a spirit. Spirit and consciousness is the same thing, right? It's just, how aware are we? Like, are we super narrowed view because we're plugged into the matrix, and our view of the world and our perception of reality is so small because we've been programmed to believe what the matrix wants us to believe? Or are we wide awake? Are we fully awakened? Can we see everything from the spiritual view, right? And the more awakened that we become, the more you'll start to see all the signs and synchronicities down to the smallest, the micro level, to the macro level, to the largest, the 50,000, 100,000 foot view. And so, and it's beneficial for you, by the way, to have that degree of spiritual awareness, because it's like when you're driving on a very narrow road, or if you've ever driven by I don't know, if you've driven like a scenic route, and there's the guardrails, right? Like, I remember years ago driving, I was going to play drums at this youth camp. I was at my church was going to go meet some other churches, and we were driving from Florida, and we had to go all up through these Tennessee mountains, basically. And it was pitch black. This was back in the year 2000 or something. And there wasn't a whole lot of there was no light basically on these back roads. And you're going up the sides of cliffs and hills where there's just drop offs. There's rivers, whitewater rapids, basically. And so the only thing that we had to navigate us were the guardrails that had the reflectors on it, and obviously the paint of the road. And so, that's what these signs and synchronicities, these foreshadow effects, are there for. They're intended to help guide us along our path, and it gives us feedback, constant feedback of where we are, how we should be navigating, and all of that, because people get so caught up on the how. Right? They go through a spiritual awakening, or, even when they're not going through a spiritual awakening, even the people that are just plugged into the matrix, it's like, when it comes to love, when it comes to money, when it comes to health, whatever the thing is that they want to know the how. Everyone's looking for the how, right? That's the big question of all questions in life is how. How do I get this? How do I get that? How did you do that? How did you build your business and make millions of dollars? How did you get in shape like that? How did you get that guy? How did you get that girl? How did you meet the love of your life? We're always looking for the how. Well, when you're on the spiritual journey, the how is being, basically being fed to you in many different ways that we call signs, synchronicities, and messages and things like that. But they don't always come from one source, right? Sometimes they come from multiple sources. In fact, that's usually how it is. And so, but to think that the how isn't there is not true. The how is always there. The divine is always providing us with the how. It's just we're not aware because, again, conscious awareness is closed in, boxed in. Sort of like if we look at this card and I were to hide this and it's like, this is all you can see. It's like, well, I don't know what I'm looking at. If that's all you could see on this card, you couldn't see the words, but just this. Well, I see something that looks kind of black and gray, looks like there's some clouds, and then I see something that looks like a claw, whatever this thing is back here. What is that? Is that a claw? Is that the edge of a cliff? Is that a monster? Or what is that? It's hard to tell. No idea what you're looking at. If this is all you could see of this card, you'd have no clue what you're looking at. But if I showed you this, you'd be like, "Oh, shit. It's a flamingo. It's the ass of a flamingo." Right? So that's the importance of perception. That's the importance of conscious awareness. When it's this narrow, you can only see a little something and you don't know what the hell you're looking at. When you see the full picture, it's like, oh, now it makes sense. Everything about this picture makes sense when I can look at the whole picture. But if all I'm looking at is just this tiny little, if that's all I can see right there, this little thing and all this gray shit back here doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So expansion, spiritual awakening, expansion of consciousness. That's what all that means. So for those of you that are coming into 2025, feeling either confused, and this is mostly for those of you that are confused. Now, for those of you that have clarity, you have certainty, you have drive, and it's kind of like maybe where I was last year. It's like, okay, boom. All the puzzle pieces finally came together for me. So 2025 is not so much about me figuring out those last little pieces anymore. Now it's like, it's just go time, right? 2025 is like, all right, I know what the call is. I know what I'm here to do. Now it's just go out and do the thing. So for those of you that are clear, there's going to be half of this message, half of this reading. Now I know you guys are thinking like, is actually a reading? I promise. Yes, there's a reading here. Just so that you're clear, there is a reading. I'm going to be doing a reading in just a moment. I will be pulling cards, but I'm setting up and discussing and framing the reading around the other messages that you guys need to know. So for those of you who have the clarity, this is great because this year it's time to answer the call. And if you answer the call, then you're going to get the things that you desire because everything that you desire is on the pathway of answering your call. That's just how it works. Everything is already there for you, waiting for you. The money, the career, the passion, the relationship, everything that's in alignment with you is on your soul's path. It's there. Right? So it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of moving forward. And then you'll run into it or it will come running into you. Right? So for those of you that are confused, which, this reading actually is, it's intended for both of you, whether you're clear or whether you're confused, it's intended for both of you. But I'm going to focus a little bit more on those of you that are confused because you guys are going to have a harder time. And that's why, for those who are clear, they'll know. You guys that are clear, you guys will be able to extract what you need from this reading because you get it. You're like, hey, I'm with you, man. Got it. I'm going to take away from this reading what the divine was, had for me. So they're going to just take what they need and they're going to keep running. No issues there. Now, but for those of you that are confused, you need a little bit of hand holding. And I don't mean that egotistically. I don't mean that arrogantly or anything. It's just sometimes that's what we need. We need answers, right? And when you feel lost, you feel confused or bad shit's happen and you're just trying to make sense of your life because maybe, some of you that might find this reading, some of you might be in a really, really bad place, really dark time. Some of you may have lost everything. And there's all kinds of shit going in the world all the time. There's people out in California, stuff's burning down. We're having a crazy winter storm here in the South and Georgia. Like, stuff is happening all the time. But whoever you are and wherever you are in your life, if you're, you could still have just lost everything. Maybe you made some bad decisions. Maybe you were with some bad people. Maybe you're in a bad relationship. Maybe you got caught up in a bad situation, right? Whatever that is. And you lost everything. Or you're in the middle of crisis, you can see it crumbling, or you're in the middle of conflict, or whatever your situation is, whatever your challenge is in your life specifically. But you feel so confused and you feel so beat down. It's almost kind of like you're just desperate. You don't even know. Sometimes when you're so broken and you're so lost, you don't even know like what you need anymore. You're just at a place of such desperation where it's just kind of like, I don't even know what to say. I wouldn't even know what to tell somebody that I need at this point, because it just all seems so like there's no point. Like, what I need doesn't even matter anymore because everything is taken away. Right? It can get very dark. And for some people who will find this video, I feel that, if it hasn't gotten that dark, you're pretty close to it. And some of you, maybe it has gotten that dark. And if so, I'm glad you found the video, because everything happens for a reason. And I assure you that no matter how dark, how broken, how lost, how confused it is, it's not the end, because it's about transformation and rebirth, because that's really what this card is. This card is synonymous with the death card and tarot, not because this is its own card. This card from this deck called the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. This is its own card. So it has nothing to do with the death card and tarot, like literally, but the energy, the representation of the energy that I'm describing is the death card energy. And the death card is about transformation, or what's called alchemy. And what alchemy is basically the purification of energy. So, turning lead into gold. Well, the gold was inside the lead. The lead, which looks, it's worthless compared to gold, you have to melt it. You have to place the lead under extreme pressure, extreme heat, until it melts, basically. And when it melts, the impurities, the shit that doesn't need to be there anymore, rises to the surface. And then, the blacksmith or the metal person, whoever they're called, they scrape that out. They get all the impurities out. And they leave it in that process, and they'll just keep getting the impurities, keep getting it out. Until finally, when there's no more impurities, they'll pour the remaining liquid, the melted metal, out, and then the most pure form is what's left over, right? And so that's what the death card is. It's transformation. It's about, yes, there are things that need to end because those things are no longer serving us anymore. We've outgrown them, or we've outlived them, or they were just toxic, or they were part of our life to teach us a lesson, and we learned that lesson whether we're consciously aware that we learned the lesson or not. A lot of times, as we experience karma and we experience consequences and we experience certain things and we're in the storm, what we're not realizing is because we're just so consumed by the pain, the suffering, the loss, and all the things that are going on in the storm, what we're not aware of is that once our nervous system settles, the lesson is there. Like, it will. The insights and the knowledge will eventually, will come through. They'll catch up to you. It may not right in the heat of the moment. So if you're going through shit right now and you're like, this makes no sense to me. Well, you're right. Right now, it may not make sense to you. For some of you, if you have awareness, and you're honest with yourself and you're like, well, yeah, I know why this is happening to me because I did A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Well, good for you. That's honesty. Well, now you know. But for those of you like, I don't understand why this is happening to me. I don't feel like I did anything to deserve this, blah, 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 blah. it may not make sense to you now, but it will make sense to you later, right? So we all go through this. That's the Fool's journey. We start at the Fool, we end at the World card, and we go through essentially the 22 steps of the Fool's journey. It starts at the Fool, ends at the World. And then we have all the cards in between. Well, the Death card is one of those. Transformation, right? Things that have to die so that new things can come to life, and that's just the cycle of life. So, we are in that period. So the theme of 2025 for all of us collectively is the end of an entire era, but on the macro level. So it's closing out a major season of humanity, and we've had some other substantial changes of things that have occurred astrologically. Pluto moved into Aquarius, which it'll be there for 20 years. We have the nodes have shifted. We've moved. The North Node is in Pisces. The South Node is in Virgo. If I remember correctly, I think I get it correctly. I think the North Node is in Pisces and the South is in Virgo. I know that they're opposing signs. I just forget. I'm forgetting if the North Node was in Virgo, but I think I'm right. You can double check me on that, but I think that I'm right. So that's important. So if you're a Pisces and you're a Virgo, for example, that lunar node energy is going to affect you guys and your signs a lot more profoundly than the other sides. Now, Pluto being in Aquarius, obviously, if your sun sign is in the sign of Aquarius, you're probably going to be affected more so by that energy. Now, in numerology, if your personal year is a 9 and you're in a 9 universal year, which everybody is in the 9 universal year, that's why it's called universal, because everybody is affected by this energy. But if your personal year is a 9, and there's lots of ways you can find that out. There's free resources. You can just look up you can even do it just using a calculator on your phone. Just Google, how do I find my personal year number in numerology? And, it'll show you. If your personal year matches the universal year, for some of you, it will. If you're the month that you were born and the day that you were born on add up to a 9, then it's always going to be the same as the universal year. So for example, if you're born on January the 8th, well, January is 1, and you're born on the 8th, well, that's 8. 1 plus 8 is 9, right? So anything that you add the number 9 to always reduces back to the same number. So 9 is almost like a mirror number. 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 0, you're back to 1. 2 plus 9 is 11. 1 plus 1, you're back to 2. 3 plus 9 is 12. 1 plus 2, you're back to 3. And on it goes. Same thing with 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. 1 plus 8, you're back to 9. So anytime you add a number to the number 9 in numerology, and then you reduce that back down to a single number, you're always going to go back to the number that you had to start with. So that's why for example, let's say you're born on March the 6th, or let's say you're born on March the 15th, or March the 26th, or not the 26th, hold on. My math, March the 24th. Yeah, March the 24th. I had to get my 6 right in my head. Any of those numbers, and you're back to 9. Why? Because the 3 is the month of March. It's the third month. That's the number 3. And then you add it to the 6 of the day you're born, right? So if you're born on March 6th, that's 3 plus 6 is 9. If you're born on the 15th, that's 3 plus the 15th. The 1 and the 15th is the 1 plus the 5 is the 6. Or the 24th, the 2 plus 4 is the 6. You see what I'm saying? Any time, it could be anything, any combination. You're born on February the 7th. 2 plus 7 is 9. Any configuration where it equals to the number 9, the month that you were born and the day that you were born on, if those two numbers added together come together and equal the number 9, then your energy is always, for the rest of your life, you're always going to match the universal year, which means that you have a little bit of a challenge. You have a blessing and a challenge in that, because your energy is amplified. The energy that's surrounding you is essentially amplified. Now, it can be amplified even more depending on other factors in your numerology chart. Now, I know that's getting way off the topic of this reading. This will turn into a numerology a workshop, right? But I'm just helping you guys explain for some of you to understand where this is going on, because some of you might be experiencing, if you've had a surge of abundance, it could be because you were on the positive side of that energy, right? And people go, why are you so lucky? It's not that they're lucky. It's just that, their energy is amplified because they have that configuration. And again, it's just, you can't help the day that you were born. So, if you're one of those people, fortunate or unfortunate, where your personal year number is constantly the same as the universal year, then, basically you're walking a tightrope your entire life. If you're in the positive side of the energy, then you get double the blessings. But if you screw up and you're on the negative side of the energy, you get double the pain, double the whammy. So you get double the pleasure, you get double the pain, unfortunately. And I don't make the rules. I'm just here as the energy, the energy forecast weatherman. Okay. I'm just here to explain it to you. So some of you have come into this not understanding a lot of this about yourself, and you're starting your year off in a confused, lost place. And what I'm here to tell you is, if you found this reading and you are in a confused, lost place, the reason that you're confused and you're lost, and the reason that you're here listening to me right now, is because it's time for you to answer the call. There's two calls. The first call is the most important call. It's the call of your soul calling out to you, saying, hey, it's time to come in here and stop looking out here. That's why your life blew up out here. It's because you're searching and looking and searching and looking, and this and that wasn't working, because all of your focus and your attention was out here in the matrix, where the world was trying to influence you to believe that this was life out here, that the answers and fulfillment and all the things that you were looking for and searching for were out here. Nope. Got to come in here. Got to go within. Got to find you. The purpose of life. And the mystics, the spiritual people, everybody, the greatest, Jesus, doesn't matter who you follow. Pick one of them. Pick your favorite. They all say the same thing, right? It's just, we have been taught by the matrix to give our power away, because if we believe that that the purpose of life is to stay focused out here on the outside of ourselves, we'll never turn our gaze inward. We'll never figure out who we are. So we'll always, we'll never find our true identity, our spiritual identity, who we really are as a individuated, conscious, spiritually awakened being. Out here, when our focus is out here, we're always trying to figure out how to fit in, how to conform, how to be accepted, how to be good enough, how to follow the trends, and how to keep up, our reputation and status compared to all these other people, and, looking at other people to determine who we are. It's like, well, I'm going to be like them. I'm going to be like that person. I'm going to be like this person. Maybe I need to be more like them. Maybe I need to be less like them. And we allow religion, politics, and Hollywood and all this shit to basically dictate who we think that we are, because we don't know who we are. That's a form of control. It's indirect. It's not obvious, but it's a form of control, right? And if they can control you, and shape your identity, then they can control and shape every other thing about you. Essentially, external forces dictate the level of power that you have in your existence. And those that are unfortunately aware of the power that exists within each and every awakened human being, it's very threatening for them. Because, if you suddenly had this mass awakening of people who realize this about themselves, then they wouldn't be able to control you anymore. They wouldn't be able to siphon your money. They wouldn't be able to convert you into a slave, you know? And just because you think you willfully go to a job every day and you slave yourself away because that's what the rest of the world is doing, and you think because you're doing it according to your free will that you're not a slave, you're mistaken. Just because the system is set up in a way for you to think that the system is normal doesn't mean that the quote unquote normal system hasn't enslaved you, right? You're slaving your ass away just for a teeny tiny little bit of retirement so that you can, have something when, you're basically obsolete at your corporate job. Like, well, we can't use you anymore. You're too old. We need the new people, but here, you get a little bit of 401k left. Now you get, you can go enjoy your old age and your shit health, and all your golden years are gone. But here you can just ride it out and get a little bit of something there for you in the bank, so you can decay and die, basically, right? If you even get that anymore, because the way that the economic system, the financial system is now, it's like, who knows? That shit changes all the time. People lose their 401ks. It's, inflation. I mean, you can't afford, it's not the same as it was like 50 years ago, right? And I know this all sounds very conspiratorial, but it's true. And regardless of what you think about all of that, the effects of this are going to affect you in terms of how you show up, because that's really what I'm concerned with. I'm concerned with you as an individual. I'm not concerned with the constructs that we can't change. The matrix is here, right? And we're not going to overthrow the matrix, just to be clear. So, while it's like, sure, we can become aware of it. We can know that, okay, yeah, there's obviously some type of, I don't know if you want to call it a shadow government, or there's, an elites or a globalist or whatever, there are people that we know who are running the world, and we can't do shit about it. But what we can do is we can do shit about ourselves. We can wake up, we can discover our power, and we can still work with the divine to create a reality within the matrix that still is fulfilling for us while we're serving the collective. Because there is no program, there is no matrix, there is no system, there is no elite group of shadow people that is more powerful than the divine, right? And again, all of that aside is, let's just bring it down to the most practical, logical level. I'm just a basic human being. I'm going through a lot of shit right now, and I just really like my life to be better. Okay, cool. Even if we just get all the other stuff out of it and we just bring it down to the most basic level, almost like a childlike level. You have a child who's like 5 and they're unhappy. They come home from school and they're sad, and you just, hey, why are you sad? Like, well, I fell off the swing today, and then after that, I forgot my lunch, so then I was hungry, and then, for whatever reason, the class bully decided to pick on me, even though in the past, he always thought I was cool, so he never bothered me, but today he bullied me. It was like this whole set of events of like back to back to back to back to back, and your kid comes home and they're super sad. And you're just like, it's like, well, what, you have this care and concern for your child. Like, what do you need? And it's like, well, they want to be better. So even if we just take it down to the most practical level, here you are stepping into 2025, and you're just like, maybe my life's a shit show. I just want to be better. Great. It can be, but the answer is still the same. There's two calls. There's the call to go within, and then when you go within, you're going to get the information that you need. You're going to come to understand. You go within to understand, and the second call is, what are you going to do with what you receive when you go within? Because you will receive. You cannot go in and meet your true or your highest self and not understand what your spiritual mission is. You have free will. You can go within, you can come to understand what your mission is, and you cannot answer the call and be like, hey, I know I'm supposed to do this, but I'm going to use my free will to not do it anyway. You do have that choice. And that's why it's the second call. So the first call is you meeting yourself. And as you meet yourself, you meet your destiny. And then the second call is you answering your destiny. And so if you made it this far in this video, as I've explained this, then you're in the right place. Because you can keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's the definition of insanity. Or you can, even if you're a healthy skeptic and you're like, well, I don't really know how I feel about this. Hey, that's great. I was a healthy skeptic too. Back at the beginning of this video, I said, 9 years ago in 2017, my life looked nothing like it did now. You would have told me in 2017 that in entering 2025, I'd be on YouTube talking about this and having tarot channel and all this shit. I'd be like, you're effing crazy. You've lost your damn mind. And there's not a person, there's not nothing. Like Jesus Christ himself could have appeared in front of me, right, in physical form and said, Eddie, you're going to be a this and that. You're going to do this in 2025 and 9 years from now. This is what you're going to be like. I wouldn't believe it. I just wouldn't have believed it. And yet here I am, and this is the reality. So don't underestimate the power of what can unfold for you despite your healthy skepticism. And I welcome that, by the way. Healthy skepticism is how we learn. It's the, the receiving of information or advice or just going with things and not thinking things through and not having a degree of healthy skepticism is the problem. It's people just going with the bullshit, going with the flow, letting other people make their decisions, let other people do their thinking for them, just drinking the Kool-Aid, as they say, right? Well, you should have a degree of healthy skepticism. Every single human being should have a firewall, a filter of what goes into their fucking mind and filter out and decide, is this something that I want to receive into my blueprint? Do I want to receive this into my belief system? Do I want to receive this into my value system? Have you looked at it? Have you scrutinized it? Have you actually analyzed it to go, is this something that is in alignment with me or not? Right? And I don't care. I mean, I'm telling you to do it with me. I'm telling you to do it with everybody. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your family member, if it's your partner, or whoever you trust. It could be your most trusted advisor, right? So, just because you have people in your life that for the most part you trust, and when we trust people, it's like we let our defenses down and we're even more open to their influence. Well, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be. And it doesn't mean to just walk through your life being guarded and skeptical and cynical and paranoid. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when it comes to certain things that have the potential to impact the way you shape your life, make your decisions, and the way that you go about living as a human being, if you're not in control of that, if you're not the one who's consciously aware of your own beliefs and value systems, that's fucking scary. That means other people are. If you're not looking at it and you're not going, well, I will come to my own conclusions. I'll do my own research and I'll do my own thinking. And, essentially I'll take responsibility for the person I choose to be based on the beliefs I choose to have. If you're not doing that, that's fucking scary because somebody else is essentially making those decisions for you. There are other forces that are influencing you. There's other forces that are guiding you. And if your life's a shit show, maybe that's why. Maybe that's part of the death card, that transformation I was talking about, the lead turning into gold. You've been melted. Your life's been destroyed. Your life's been melted down so that the things that were never meant to be there could rise to the surface so that you could see them and realize, oh, now I get it. Maybe my life is blown to pieces and maybe I'm going through a dark night of the soul because I wasn't living my life. And the only way that the divine could help me acknowledge and learn it and get me out of the pattern was to just bring it all to an end. The whole system. This is why we have the Tower card, by the way, in tarot, and this is why the Tower card is the most scary card of all the cards in the tarot deck. It's not the Death card. It's not the Devil. It's not the other ones. It's the Tower. The Tower is the card that when it comes out in your reading, you hold your breath. You hold your breath when the Tower shows up. Because that's the one that's like, okay, is this like a sudden unexpected good thing that's like a blessing and sudden unexpected blessing? Or is this a sudden unexpected, oh shit, my life just got blown to pieces? And, usually it's not fun, and usually it's not minor, right? And so a lot of times we have these Tower moments, our life gets blown to pieces because we have to come to the realization that we weren't being a healthy skeptic. We weren't, in control of our destiny. We were just living somebody else's life. We're living somebody else's lies. We're living somebody else's sets of rules, beliefs, values, traditions, religions, politics, or whatever. The list goes on and on and on. You did not come to those conclusions yourself. You were programmed. They were given to you. You accepted them. You just allowed the influence of those things to exist within you because you knew no different. It's just you're raised in a world where the world tells you, no, this is what's normal. And so as you're programmed to believe that this is just what's normal, then therefore it must be acceptable because the world says it's normal. Just because something is considered normal in the general context of most people's, who live in the matrix doesn't mean that it should be acceptable. And we've seen, just even this last year, we've seen the negative effects of that with all the, actually the last 4 years, especially in the West, gender politics and this, that, and the other, and all the attacks on human identity. It's like, how far can we take this? How far can we push these people before they start pushing back? Right? And that's how they test you. They did the same thing with the pandemic. They did the same exact thing. How far can we push these people? How much fear? How much terror? How far can we push the general population until they start to resist some? Let's test it out. Where are they? Where are they within themselves? And so they test it all out. It's like, well, can we just tell these people to, anything and they'll believe it? Or are they actually capable of thinking for themselves and going, wait, I don't know about all this, but this don't seem right. That don't seem right. That don't seem right. That sure fuck looks sketchy. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. It's very important, guys. It's very important to be able to troubleshoot your life from a spiritual perspective, right? So this reading really comes down to two things. As we are now entering this 9 universal year, this is going to be, and I'm just going to keep it really real with you. For some of you, there's two groups of you that I mentioned. All right, so this is me getting off of my big soapbox, and this is going to be a long reading, but if you really want to change, then you'll listen to it or you won't. Now, I'm just here to be the messenger. I'm doing my job, okay? And for those of you that need this, then hopefully you'll stick around for the things that the divine wants to assist you with, right? Because you want assistance, you want your life to change, you don't want to continue, in confusion, spiraling, wondering, unhappy, unfulfilled, doing the same things, getting the same results, or worse. Maybe your life's a complete shit show right now. Maybe you're at the end of the end and you're like, I'm so desperate for anything. Well, good. I'm glad you're here because this video is for you too. Actually, it's probably more so for you than even the other people who are just, my life kind of sucks. It's not really happy, but, they're still willing to tolerate the mundaneness of it. It's like, it's not my dream life, but it's not terrible, but I wish I could have a little bit more. It's like, okay, well, you're in between worlds on that. You're willing to stay on the fence of, well, I'm not really happy and it's not really not painful enough and it's not really happy enough, but your comfort, you're within your comfort zone and your comfort bubble. And that's just where you're hoping and wishing that maybe one day things will get better. But it's not really painful enough for you to change, right? Those people are the hardest people to change. The ones that are comfortable, because there's not really enough incentive like to really pull them out of their comfort zone and go for their dreams, but it's not painful enough to force them to either, right? But for those of you where it's like, I'm desperate, my whole fucking life's blown up, good, because that is a great place to be in desperation. Desperation is a great place to be when things need to change, right? It's about what's needing to change. Okay. So, as we move forward through 2025, if I can speak, again, I'm just here to tell you the truth. I'm here to be the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. For some of you, for those of you that are finally taking the risk, sort of like myself, I'm putting myself in this category. I'm finally stepping out of the boat to see if the whole concept, if you want to walk on water, you got to step out of the boat. It's like trusting the divine. It's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, 2025, you know, I don't know. I know it's time for me to step out of the boat, start walking on water and doing the damn thing. And I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I'm here to admit, I still don't know how I'm going to do it. And what I'm doing right here is just me dipping my toe into the water, right? And those of you out there, you're answering the call. You've made a decision. Yes, Eddie, I'm going to answer the call 2025, right? And so for you, the ending, because the theme of the universal year of 9 is about closing out the past and preparing for the future, which is the 1 year, the new beginnings, right? So for those of you, you're like this. I've answered the call. I'm not looking back here. I'm not dealing with that. That's the old life. That's done. I'm answering the call. I'm moving forward no matter what. I don't know. Don't know how. I don't know all of that, but I just know that I know I'm answering the call. You put yourself in that group. Good. For those of you in group number 1, you're going to experience a lot of, miracles and abundance. Now, I'm going to use that word loosely here, miracles and abundance, because, when people think of miracles, they think of like raising people from the dead and shit. And I'm not saying it can't be something like on that level, but I'm saying like things that are just miraculous in a supernatural way. Like things just start working together and opportunities start working out in your favor. And as you just start taking your steps towards your spiritual mission, your spiritual path, it's like as you take the step is when the magic happens. It's not going to be any sooner or any later. It's in the moment. The magic happens in the moment. So that's how this is going to be for you all. The magic happens in the moment. It's in the hand. And there's actually a really good story in the Bible about this. When in the Bible, it says Jesus feeds the 5,000. Actually, that's not true. Jesus didn't feed the 5,000. He gave the food, he blessed the food, and he handed it to his disciples, and they fed the 5,000. The miracle didn't happen in the hands of Jesus. The miracle happened in the hand of his disciples. So, I know I'm being a little bit of a stickler on that one, but in the Bible, that's what it's called. Jesus feeds the 5,000. He didn't. He did. We're actually giving Jesus credit for something he actually didn't do. He was teaching his disciples to do it. And when did the miracle happen? This is the point I'm trying to make, by the way. When did the miracle happen? The miracle didn't happen when Jesus divided up the loaves and the fishes into the disciples' hands. That's not when the miracle happened. They just had pieces of food in their hands. And there was 5,000 people, and he said, go feed them. And they're looking like, I could eat this and this wouldn't be enough for me. And so they're scratching their head going, okay, dude. All right. Here, you can have it all, I guess. And then, they hand off all the food that's in their hands and then look like shit. Wait, I'm not crazy. I just handed you food, didn't I? And like, give them some more. And it's like, it's not the food's not leaving my hands. It's like, it's still here. The miracle happened in the disciples' hand. And then actually, as the story goes on, after the 5,000 people eat all the food, then Jesus says, I want you to go out and collect the leftovers. And so they go out and they collect 12 basketfuls, right? A basket for each disciple. I think it was 12, if I remember correctly. So they came back with even more food than they started with. Again, was the miracle happening in Jesus' hands, or was the miracle happening in the hands of the disciples that were doing the work? Key point, doing the work. The master, and Jesus is the representation of the divine. He's the archetype of the divine, teaching you how to do the miracle. And it's in the action step of you performing something that makes no logical sense, but you're just trusting the divine. That's when the miracle happens. So it won't be before and it won't be after. It'll be in the moment. For many of you, they're answering the call. The miracle will be in the moment of the doing. So you won't know the how. This is how you learn to have faith. And faith is just another word for trusting the divine. Right? But that's also why I said for many of you, and this I'm still talking to group 1 here, that why this year is going to be super magical for you. Super magical for you. Almost in a very literal sense. It's like, my God, I'm going to take a risk. Miracle happens in the moment. In the doing, in the action. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this literally just happened. Well, I told you it was going to happen. That's group 1. Now, group number 2. I'm gonna describe you all as you're confused, you're lost, and your life is basically a shit show. Now, group number 2, this card still applies to you. You're still in between worlds because you have a decision to make. Group number 2. And based on the decision that you make is essentially going to determine how the influence of this 9 universal year energy is going to affect you. So what is that? Well, the first decision is, now that you're confused, lost, and maybe your life's a shit show, are you in enough pain? Are you desperate enough to actually go within to answer the call? Are you actually going to, use this beautiful opportunity to turn your focus away from, and I know this is easier said than done, but it's not impossible. I've done it. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust me. My dumbass, there ain't nothing special about this. Okay. Like, I'm no Albert Einstein. Okay. Like, I'm no Elon Musk for sure. So if I can get through shit, my stubborn, hard-headed, and all the shit that if the universe can whip me into shape, trust me, they can whip you into shape too. Right? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to be in desperation mode. And I know it's hard. It's hard to not focus on the pain, the suffering, the destruction, and whatever that thing is, whatever your circumstances are. Right? It's really hard to not focus on the negativity of your circumstances when there's so much negative emotion, feeling, and sadness, and all the stuff, anxiety, stress, whatever's weighing you down. And I know it feels counterintuitive to want to take your eyes off of it, because it feels like, well, if I'm not out here, in the wreckage, then I'm not being responsible. That's not true also. And I'm not saying stop paying your bill or stop feeding your children or stop being an active functioning human being. I'm not telling you to be a dumbass. Okay. What I'm saying is that the conditions of your life aren't a result of you trying to focus on the shit show. It's about you needing to focus on your power. And in order for you to get connected to your power, you have to go inside of yourself and figure out who the hell you are, understand why all this out here is happening, why the divine has brought you here to hear this message from me, of all people, telling you, hey, maybe your life is a shit show because things needed to be torn down on purpose. And now that these things are torn down on purpose, how about we not repeat it again? Because some of you are going to go the minute, the moment that anything remotely gets a fraction of a bit better. And I don't mean a lot better. I'm just saying a tiny little bit better. The minute your stress level goes down one fucking notch, you're going to be right out that door again, and you're going to be chasing after that next toxic person, or the same toxic person, or the same toxic situation, the same drug, the same addiction, the same this, the same that, and you're just going to light your ass on fire again. Next, you're basically lighting the next bomb that's going to be your next tower moment. It's like, here, let's just light the fuse. It's like there's those videos, this epic fail videos of people that are like, they're fucking around with fireworks and they blow up, It's like, that's kind of like, basically what you'd be doing. It's like you're out there fucking around with the firework and it blew up on you. And then there you are all blown up and you're like, man, that wasn't very fun. But then you just reach and you grab another and you light it and you do it again. Some of you, for whatever the fuck reason, some of you, it's like the minute it gets better, you're going to start running back out into the shit show. It's like, oh, you want another tower moment. You want your life to blow up all over again. You still haven't learned your lesson. Well, the theme of this year is, it's not going to just be you get another one smack, like you go back out into it and you just get one hit. Under this energy, it's going to be like a full-blown beatdown, right? It's not just going to be like, oh man, I got punched in the face and it knocked me on my ass and it knocked me out for a minute. And now you woke up and you're like, oh man, all right, well, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go in there. And it's not just going to be one more punch and then you get knocked down. It's going to be like a flurry. It's going to be like a punch, and then when you're on the ground, the person climbs on top of you and just beating the shit out of you again and again and again. It's going to be a non-stop battery for you under this energy. And I'm just being completely honest with you. This energy I don't know how else to describe it to you other than to say it's not something you want to fuck with. The universal 9-year energy is not the fuck around and find out energy. Especially for those of you unfortunate, again, fortunate or unfortunate, if you answer the call and like I said, your personal year is also a 9, and with the universal year being a 9 and your personal year's a 9, and you're one of those people, if you answer the call, you're going to get extra magic. It's going to be extra amazing for you. Now, those of you that aren't learning your lesson, it's going to be even 10 times worse. It's going to be like not only just the person who gets beat down, but it's like add like 5 or 10 more people beating you down. Instead of just the one person beating the one person down, you got like 5 and they're all beating you at once. Right? So, it's a very, I hate to say it, but it's a very black and white energy, like a very color and black and white energy. For those of you that answer the call, you moving forward, things are going to be drastically different for you throughout this year. For those of you that are in the beatdown energy and you're like, nope, not going to answer the call, not going to go within. And not only am I not going to go within, not only am I going to deny my spiritual destiny, my spiritual call, and deny my spiritual self, I'm going to just turn back and go the minute something starts to feel good again, the minute that when I say feel good, it doesn't have to be much, just the tiniest little bit of relief. Like going from the 10 of Wands down to the 9 of Wands, just one notch down, and your ass is going to go chase after that toxic person, that thing, whatever that thing was that got you into the shit show that you're in now. It's like, whoop, I want more of it. And you turn right back around, you go back, and then it's full-blown apocalypse for you guys. Like it's, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, man, just drop the nuke, because that's what you basically just ran back to. It's like and this year is going to be, for those of you that choose that path, I'm just here to tell you, I'm not here to be an asshole. I'm not here to be negative. I'm here to tell you the fucking truth. If that's the path you're going to choose, this is going to be one of the worst years of your entire life. I know that's not pretty. I know that's not nice, but it's honest. And I'm just here to tell you. I'm here to tell you. You think you've had a bad year? I don't care what you've been through in your past. You tell me the worst year of your life, in your past, I'm telling you, if you go back to that shit this year, I promise you, will be the worst year of your entire life. But hey, at least you were warned. At least you were warned. I did my part. I'm over here doing my part. I tried to tell them, universe. I tried to tell them, and I didn't sugarcoat it. I just kept it real. And I hope that you guys take me seriously. I mean, again, be a healthy skeptic, but you guys can click on any video on my channel, and this is me. You're not going to find a different me saying different things with a different message or a different style. Like, I'm just, when it's truth time, it's truth time. Because I'm not here to play with I'm not here to fuck around with people's destinies and the call on their life and the things that they need to change, because we're in a very, very we're in a very profound, intense, and historic place in the human evolution, right? So there is a seriousness to it that needs to be respected and honored, I should say, right? Now, not intense all the time, obviously, but there are times when we need to know, like, hey, it's, the energy of life is serious right now. And for those of you that are going through this shit, it's serious because you're in it. It's like, dude, trust me, Eddie, I know. You don't get more serious than what I'm going through in my life right now. Because when you're suffering and you're miserable and, you've lost your health, or you've lost, your bank account, or you've lost your, maybe you've lost everything. It doesn't get more serious than that. So, the Between the World cards. So I said I was going to read this like 5 hours ago. So here we are. The meaning of this card is transitions, not being quite out of one situation and fully engaged in another. Temporary blindness and no man's land. Right. So let me just read the Oracle message here. Between the worlds is where you must let go of the tendency to make assumptions. This is a time when you are unable to see what is ahead. Cultivate curiosity and trust the process of change and growth. You are done learning the lessons of recent experiences. We hope that we're done learning, right? Group number 2, you're done, right? You're done with the toxic relationship. You're done with the bullshit. You're done with the thing that blew your life up, right? We hope you are. We hope that you are. In this place, between what was and what will be, is a state of making and unmaking, and then making again. What is essential now is to admit not knowing exactly. It's the uncertainty that I talked about of the miracle happens in your hand. There is a great freedom and power to be unleashed. Wonder what miraculous power that is. A mystery that is not yours to understand weaves the web of life within a divine matrix of consciousness greater than your own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, desires, and decisions. The seeds that were planted in the past begin to take root, but what surfaces will probably not be what you expect. When you are between the worlds, you are invited to see with the curious eyes of a child glimpsing at a rainbow for the first time. Do so, and you will not be disappointed. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this into 2 parts, because I just realized that this is about an hour and 15 minutes. So I'm just going to call this part 1. And then in part 2, if you've made it this far, part 2, I'm actually going to pull the cards and do the reading. Obviously, both of these parts go together. So if you just watch part 2 because you think me pulling cards is somehow more important than the things that I'm sharing here, then you miss the whole point, because sometimes the messages that I channel are far more important than anything that comes out on a card, right? And if anything, the cards are just guideposts for the types of things that I feel that I need to channel. It just helps me stay out of my ego and stay connected to the energy. That's really all these cards are. I could come out here with blank note cards and use those. Essentially, it's the same thing. So don't buy into the illusion of thinking that the message is just in the cards, right? The message comes through the messenger. These cards, any cards, whether they're tarot cards, whether they're oracle cards, it doesn't matter. The cards are only as good in the hands of the person that's using them, right? That's with anything. Same thing with guitar. Same thing with drums or instrument or a car or a gun or anything. Just drawing, right? A pen, if you suck at writing or suck at drawing, doesn't matter. A pen is just a pen. You give a pen to somebody who knows how to draw, they can create art. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Hopefully this as I end part 1 here, hopefully you guys have some food for thought here, something to think about, right? And that's really just what I want to, that's the most important part here, is just getting you to consider. If I've done nothing else, I hope that at least I've given you something to think about. Are you in group 1? Are you in group 2? Where are you at in your life? Where are you honestly within yourself in the quality and fulfillment of your life? Here you are. We're in 2025 now, almost 2 weeks now into 2025. That's how fast the time is going. How do you want to run this race this year? Do you just, you just going to just go with whatever, just let time go by unconsciously? You're just going to do the hamster wheel thing, the mundane grind. I just wake up like, oh my God, now it's July or it's August. Man, it was just January. What am I doing with my life? Or, do you want to live intentionally? Or for those of you that are suffering, it's like, do you want to do something about it? Do you want to put yourself in a position where you never have to go through that level of desperation or loss ever again, because you have that power? You never have to go through this kind of loss ever again. Ever. I'm not saying that you won't experience some degree of loss in life. That's part of life, but you won't have to go through this kind of loss again. You won't have to come to the end of yourself just for you to have an opportunity to face the truth, or the truth be revealed to you. And the truth is what sets you free. It's a life of blessing, a life of fulfillment, abundance, love, joy, peace, patience, happiness, all the things that you really, really want. So this is a great opportunity to really, really, really get curious and be honest with yourself and investigate what is it that you really want going into 2024. See, I'm still in 2024. I got to get into the 2025 mode. As you move into 2025, as you cross the threshold out of the old and embracing the new, as you answer the call, if you're willing to answer the call, that's the place. If I can leave you in that place here, then I've done my job. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. All the other information is in the description box below. And as always, my friends,
I'm not a bloody psychic.